This video explains the menu options against your suppliers. So if we go to Suppliers, here you'll see the list of your suppliers based on either the number, which you can search on, or the name, which you can click on here and it will put them in alphabetical order, or you can search in the search field here. Once you've created your supplier, if we go into Edit against this supplier, entered their name, address details, selected a supplier group based on the type of supplier, and you can create new supplier groups should you so wish. Domestic is the VAT zone, so domestic, EU or abroad based on the type of supplier. You can also enter the company reg, VAT registration, email address, telephone number, etc. Cost account, this can be linked to a supplier if all you ever get from a particular supplier is one type of service or supply. Then you can enter that code in here based on the chart of accounts, which you can use the list to search in, and you can also enter some automatic text. Both the cost account and the automatic text can be overridden at point of entry, so you can make changes once you're processing your invoice. You've also got the payment terms, which you can modify, currency that the supplier will invoice you in, and you can also enter the bank account. Additional information, access means whether it's open so you can use that supplier when you're processing, or you can bar this supplier from your list. Link it to a remittance advice layout, and you can also add a markup as well and enter any references. Once your supplier has been created, you can edit the details by going into the pencil here. This option, Entries on Account, shows the entries that have been processed for that supplier. So this will show you the activity. If we go into down here, so this is showing the amount outstanding for that supplier, and it shows as a negative as a creditor, and also the overdue balance. So Entries on Account, this will show the activity, the supplier invoices. So if you hover over the type, anything with this icon is a supplier invoice, and this is a supplier payment. So the invoices are shown as creditor amounts, and the payment is shown as a debit. The next icon is Open Entries. So this highlights the invoices that are outstanding and also any payments that have not been matched with invoices. So you can come in here and you can see there's a supplier payment for this invoice here, but it's showing as unmatched. So you can simply tick the boxes here and then Match Selected. Do you want to match these items? Yes. So it will then clear these items down as open entries. So when you run your age creditor report, you will only see the invoices or credit notes that are outstanding. If you want to show previously matched, back on here, and it will show you what payments have been matched with what invoices. And if you want to undo any matching, then you can do by ticking these boxes and undo the matching. So if you want to rematch a payment with other invoices, you can. You also have an option for contacts, so you can enter new contacts here, and the More option, as you note, you can add to your suppliers, and you can also copy a supplier and obviously change the details in there if you need to, and you can also delete a supplier, but please bear in mind you can only delete a supplier if there is no historical transactions that have been booked against that supplier. If you no longer want this supplier to be used, then rather than delete, if you have historical information, then you can come in here against the supplier and you can go to Additional, and you can then bar this supplier and save. And this is showing all open, so if you want to show barred, then you can see that supplier in there. So that means when you're processing an invoice for this supplier, you will not be able to because it's barred. If you want to then change the status, go back, and then it will appear back in open. If you're processing a lot of supplier payments and you haven't processed the invoice yet, or you're processing them at a later date, so rather than go into Open Entries here and match the payment with the invoice, you can use the option automatic matching. So this means you can do automatic matching of supplier payments and invoices en masse. So you can enter the date, say as of today's date, and click OK, and that will then show, if you had any, invoices which have yet to be matched with their payments.